Welcome back to the Alcohol Tipping Point podcast. I am your host, Deb Maisner. I'm a registered nurse, a health coach, and alcohol-free badass. And today on the show, I have someone who is another alcohol-free badass. She's no bullshit. She's known for cutting the crap. Her name's Beth Feraco, and she describes herself as a strength and nutrition coach, recovering alcoholic, runner, wife, mother, lifter of heavy things, fitness motivator, and champion of personal growth and development. Thanks for coming on the show, Beth.
Thanks for having me.
Did that leave anything out? That was like
Nope,
a
I love that.
mouthful.
Yeah, I'm like, that, yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Well, tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do.
So my name is Beth Feraco. I have a online nutrition and strength coaching business called Beth Feraco Fitness. I started out as an in-person personal trainer, nutrition coach, and before COVID happened, I was like, this is before everything got shut down. I wanted to build something on my own. My father passed away when I was 18 and left my mother with 3 children, and she did, we lost the house. She lost everything. So my thought was I don't want to be put in that position like my mother was, because my husband was at that time when I got into fitness in his 40s. So that was my driving force. And here I am. I created a online business during 2020, and now it started with just me, and now I have 3 coaches, a salesperson, and a podcast, group coaching, and a Patreon. So
That is so amazing. And
yeah.
I think, well, we'll hear more when you share your story, but like you
Mhm.
have sobriety to owe a lot
Yeah.
of that too.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
what was your experience with drinking and
So I guess it really started when my father passed. I mean, I was 18 when he passed away. I think that was like the tipping point of like the beginning of, of course, alcoholism is like a progressive disease. I didn't like suddenly become like addicted, but that's kind of what started I was never like a drinker in high school. I was the designated driver. I was like the good girl. So when that happened, that turned my life upside down. I ended up like traveling and, going to Florida, Arizona, living in San Diego, LA. So I think LA life is when it really started to get really progressive. I was bartending, perfect, opportunity to just drink every single night. From there, I moved to New York City. I left LA. I mean, it was bad. Like I got into drugs. I was a fashion designer in Los Angeles, so I was in that scene, and it didn't really wasn't at the point it was like ruining my life, but it definitely stopped me from doing a lot of things. And I would always was like quit and then start over. I would want to quit and start over. I think I even went to a few meetings in LA, and this is right now, like probably 15 years ago. So I was like, if I don't leave here, I'm going to die. So I moved to New York City, still drank. My husband, my now husband, was actually my high school sweetheart. We reconnected through his sister was contacting me on Facebook. And at that time I was in New York City, and he lived in Maine where we're living now. He came to see me, moved back to Maine with him, and we ended up have a son together. We got married. But before we got married and had the son, he had a stroke from an accident from planting trees. He was a landscaper. So he was in like rehab with like a lot of the elderly, which was crazy. And at that same time I found out I was pregnant with my son. So there's that whole thing. I didn't really obviously didn't drink when I was pregnant, had my son, and it was really, I think, postpartum, and it was a hard time just having like a husband that was still like working on his speech. And I also had a stepdaughter. He had a daughter from a previous relationship. So I got all these things at once. And so after breastfeeding, I think it was like 9 months, my son was about 9 months, I really started drinking more. Like I was taking the bartending life into motherhood, which did not mix. It's like I didn't know how to disassociate the two. So I, started drinking wine at night. It was just not, it was not good. The tipping point for me was it was our anniversary, August 17th of 2015. And I drove from a family barbecue with the 2 children in the car. Nothing happened, thank God, but I don't really remember much. I remember getting sick and vomiting and stuff like that. And the next day I was like, this has got to end. I'm going to either hurt myself, kill the kids. It's not going to end up well. So there was an AA meeting down the street. And of course, from this decision, there was months and months, maybe a few years of like the thought of like, do I have a problem? I need to quit. I'm so sick of feeling like this. Like you just don't, I didn't want to say I'm an alcoholic, but
Mhm.
deep down, I'm like, will somebody save me type thing. I'm like, doesn't anyone see what I'm doing? Like I wanted like intervention. I wanted to say, Beth, you need to stop. But no one, obviously it has to be up to the person. So I kind of also hid it very well. I would hide bottles of wine. My husband really kind of knew what was going on, but he almost like supported it in a way where he was like, anything to make you feel better. Do you need more wine type thing? When in all, it was like, I was like crying for help. It was like a lonely place to be. So I decided, I was like, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. So I'm like, I'm going to walk into this meeting, the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And sat there and I was like, for the first time, I was like, my name is Beth and I'm an alcoholic. And I felt like such relief to have all of a sudden that so much support. And I'm like, okay, I went every single day for a year. So from there, that's when I got into fitness. I met a girl, Allison, and we met every single day at 5:30 in the morning. And we would run and do some like outside workouts because it was summer turning into fall. So it's still really nice out. And then at 7 a.m., I would go to my meeting. So I would work out with her and then go to my meeting at 7 a.m. And that was something I did every single day. Then a gym opened up literally across the street from the AA meeting, which is kind of crazy. And that my friend at the time, Allison, she got a new job. We couldn't meet anymore. I was like, what am I going to do? I'm not going to meet my friend. I'm like, okay, I'm going to join this gym. So I joined the gym, started taking classes there at 6 a.m. So it was still perfect. Got out at 6:45, went to my meeting. And then from there, the owner, Hunter is his name. He's actually the COO of my business now, which is crazy. He's like, they were looking for a front desk person. So I started working at the front desk. And then he's like, "Do you want to intern? I feel like you'd be a really good coach." And I was like, "Yes." So I started interning, and from there, I got certified in nutrition. I became a certified personal trainer, and it just like took off from there.
That's
So,
amazing. Yeah. I mean, I resonated with a lot of what you said, like having a baby and being so lonely. Like it's
Mhm.
so weird to have kids and not be alone, but feel so lonely. And then
Mhm.
like your husband recovering from his stroke and just so much going on there. And then just you finally finding help. And at that time for you, it was AA that was helpful. I know a lot of
Yeah.
other people do choose different routes, but for
Yeah.
you, it was very helpful. So thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. Yeah.
And so now you're working with people just to improve their health, improve their fit. And what are your thoughts on like the role of alcohol in that?
So what
People
I
trying to
realized
lose weight. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, I never obviously don't ever I never really talk about alcohol with my clients unless it becomes an issue, right? Because we work on, helping them recover from their relationship with food or, get stronger in the gym, lose weight, feel great. But what I started realizing more and more because I work with a lot of women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, etc., is that a lot of them would drink a lot and it would impede their, goals. And it's like, okay, so if you're more worrying about how you can fit the calories in from your alcohol rather than the goal you're trying to achieve, you got to really think about your relationship with alcohol. And if you have this attitude, it's like, well, there's no way I'm going to give up my weekend, da da da. It's like, okay. So what's more important to you? Is it your goal or is it your weekend wine binge drinking? So that's what kind of got me to like start talking about it more because I feel like I can relate to a lot of these people. And then I started realizing how much of a problem it is. And also, not to mention menopause. What do they don't realize is like alcohol is like pouring gasoline on your menopause symptoms. It would make everything worse. It's like, okay, if you want to make menopause a little bit easier to transition into, you need to kind of look at your lifestyle and your nutrition and are you drinking every single night because impedes your sleep. And then you're going to eat more the next day. You might not move. You're going to get more anxious. So it's just like a big cluster of events that happen, especially, for women in their 40s, 50s, and beyond.
Oh, excellent point about alcohol pouring gasoline on your menopause symptoms. Can you speak
Yeah.
to that more? Because we don't talk about menopause a lot and what's happening to women as we get older, and then as
Yeah.
we're processing alcohol as we get older, too.
Yeah. So not only does so alcohol is it's a carcinogen, it's a poison, and so our body immediately tries to focus on getting rid of it, right? So that how that impedes fat loss is your body's going to focus on metabolizing the alcohol before losing any fat. Like the fat loss gets thrown to the side. So your liver is like, let's get this shit out of here. So the more you drink, it's like, okay. And then, that's like menopause symptoms, just like interrupted sleep, like night sweats. You're waking up at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the morning. Well, alcohol, is going to make your sleep worse. You're not sleeping when you're passed out. I think people forget that you don't get any REM sleep. They're like, it's the best sleep when I'm drinking. It's like, really? That's really funny. So there's the sleep aspect. And then also, I know for me, like I'm going to be 50, like I started getting very anxious. And also, alcohol creates more anxiety. So there's that. And then there's, the cravings and things like that. So, alcohol, if you're waking up, you're going to be hungover and you're going to crave other things. And if you're not sleeping, sleep creates lack of sleep creates a hunger hormone that makes you more hungry. So it's really like, if we want to help menopause, we need to take out the things that are making it worse.
Yeah.
So,
So important, so
yeah.
key, because it does seem like a lot of the women I work with too are, 50s, 60s, and they're just like, I feel miserable.
Mhm.
And so when you can remove the alcohol, like you can feel so much better.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and when you were talking about women, and we shouldn't just say women because men do it too, like just saving
Mhm.
up your calories for
Yeah.
drinking at night. I had heard a term recently within the last few months called drunk orexia. And so that's
Mhm.
just, it's not a medical term, but like it kind of sums it up like, reducing your calories so you can binge on alcohol. And
Mhm.
I'm like, that was me. I was so tied into wanting to lose weight and be fit, but also still not wanting to give up my wine.
Yeah.
And it was only when I could separate like the two issues, like I had to be okay. Like I'd rather be sober and fat than like drunk and skinny because I was miserable,
Yeah.
And also, it wasn't working, you know,
Right.
drinking the alcohol was not working at
Yeah.
all. So,
Yeah, and that's the thing, it's like these women, they wanna lose the belly fat and lose the weight, but it's like, okay, but you don't want to do what it takes, and alcohol sometimes is one of those things that you have to, like, take a real close look at, like, how is your relationship with alcohol? If you can't see yourself going 30 days without alcohol, then you really need to that's a problem, and I don't think people are willing to admit that. I mean, it's hard.
yeah, absolutely. And so you do a lot of social media, you're
Mhm.
on Instagram, and you do a lot of like no bullshit posts and reels. And so one of the things you do is about alcohol and just kind of the hypocrisy of the
Mhm.
health and wellness industry and coaches
Yeah,
promoting quote unquote healthy wine or organic drinks or whatnot. Can you speak to
right.
that? Like, cut the crap on that.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
That all started because of, you get these people. I'm huge on TikTok, so TikTok's like my main platform, and I kind of like put everything into the reels to kind of like have both. And so there's a lot of people on nutrition coaches on TikTok that will go into the grocery stores and start saying this is horrible, that's poison, you shouldn't have that. Diet Pepsi has aspartame, that causes cancer. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Why aren't we talking about the actual real poison? No one wants to. No one goes into the grocery store and is like, goes down the alcohol aisle and says, "Don't have any of that. That's poison." No, but they're actually, shaming and, talking about ingredients that are actually safe. Like aspartame has been proven just because they did a study on rats in 2005, giving them like I think it was like 10 Diet Pepsis a day, which is the equivalent to a human to like 2,000 cans of Diet Pepsi a day. Um, so, comparing that to alcohol, which is a carcinogen, actual like poison, it's just crazy to me. So that's how I got started in the whole alcohol thing. And it's kind of morphed into a lot more, which I'm excited about because I think it's so important to talk about and people get really heated. And sometimes I second guess the videos that I make because I'm like, oh my God, these people are so angry. But I'm like, no, change is never made through making people happy. Or you have to, say things that are people are going to question for them to start to kind of like understand what is happening.
Well, what are some of the responses or, like, discussions that you've had?
Like not everyone is an alcoholic. No, no kidding. Like a lot of people, you can always tell the people in the comment section that actually may have a horrible relationship with alcohol because I can recognize the comments and stuff that I would used to say. Like everything in moderation. It's like, okay, well, great. But what does moderation look like to you? Like moderation to me was a bottle of wine a night. I don't, it could be, 3 glasses. It could be 1 glass a week, it could be 1 a month, or it could be, 1 a year. Like, what is moderation? So I think people, they question that. And that's also like, you can have 10 Diet Pepsis and it's not going to send you to the hospital. I think that people don't understand, like, when you're going off on ingredients that are completely safe, we are not talking about the fact that alcohol kills so many people a year. Like, not only like on the road, you're ending up in jail or you're breast cancer, all kinds of cancers. No one's getting their stomach pumped from a Diet Pepsi. So I think, and the fact that people really still believe that Diet Pepsi is more poisonous than alcohol just is insane to me. Mm.
Yeah, I sometimes get things about that. Well, my drink would be Diet Coke. I just wanna put
Yeah,
that out there.
mine too. I don't know why I came up with Diet Pepsi because I've never drank a Diet Pepsi in my life. So I'm all about the Diet Coke cherry or something, but that's too funny. I'm like Diet Pepsi. Ugh.
Yeah, I'm like, "Maybe it's an East Coast thing. Why is she keep talking about Diet Pepsi?"
I don't even know. I don't know because I don't.
Or Diet Dr. Pepper.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, or I will get things like, "Well, so is sugar. Why aren't we talking about sugar?" Can you speak to sugar and just your approach on
Yeah. Well, I think sugar, everyone, wants to also deem sugar, right? Sugar is not the problem. No one is going into their pantry with a spoon and going into the sugar bowl, right? So think about everything that has sugar. Like when people think you're addicted to sugar, they're thinking about donuts or they're thinking about cookies. Okay, but what are those? What do those also have in it? They have fats and carbohydrates. So you can't be addicted, although people love to say it, to a food, right? It just it's not in the category of I forget what is the term when you're, it's not deemed a category of like an
substance?
yeah, you can't be addicted to sugar like you can cocaine or heroin or alcohol.
Sure.
But people seem to think they are. What they have is they have a horrible relationship with food. So what people do is they'll binge and restrict. So because they think the donut or the cookie is bad, they will when they have it, they won't stop eating it because they're like, I'm never going to have it again. So they'll go and stop eating it, and then when they have it again, they'll they won't stop eating it. So they're like, I'm addicted. I can't have it. It's like, no, you just don't have a healthy relationship with food because you think the cookie's bad. You don't incorporate it in your life. And then when you do, you binge on it. It's just binge or restrict. I mean, it's pretty common, like with a lot of things. I think it's really comes down the relationship with food and thinking that sugar is bad, but sugar by itself, no one is eating it. It's always mixed in it's a highly palatable food, it tastes good. Who doesn't wanna stop eating it? So that's what I have to say about that.
Yeah, and I like to thank sugar for getting me through my first year of sobriety.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I always recommend to people, like, when they're giving up alcohol or they're taking a 30-day break, like, "Hey, treat yourself. Make sure you eat. Heavy drinkers have chronically low blood sugar.
Mhm.
Like you need to be just, I'd rather you have a donut than a DUI or a
Yeah.
rhesus than a relapse. So just treat yourself because you are restricting yourself quote unquote, from the alcohol.
Right.
So your body's going to want some dopamine some way.
Right, right, exactly. Yeah, it does give you a dopamine hit to the brain for sure. The high and so it is like, pizza and anything that's highly palatable. It's like but you can get the same effect from petting a puppy, and I know people don't like to hear that,
Well, we need some more puppies
right? We need lots of puppies.
that are readily available.
Yeah.
We're so like instant gratification that it's really
Yes.
hard to just delay gratification.
Yeah.
Well, if someone's listening and they're further down, like their alcohol free journey, and they're like, now I'm ready to cut the sugar, or not like completely eliminate it, but I'm ready to just take a little more control over my health and fitness. What tips
Mhm.
do you have for those people?
I think a huge one is like a lot of people don't know how to balance their plate. So when you have a balanced meal, like your meals contains like protein, a fat, and a carb source. Having the protein that's going to help balance your blood sugar. And a lot of people will just have like a carb induced breakfast, like let's say just cereal alone. Although cereal is not bad, there's no protein in there. It's not going to keep you full. It's immediately you're going to be hungry like an hour later. So I think having a balanced plate, knowing what that looks like. So having like a let's say they say a palm of protein for women and 2 palms of protein for men at each meal. And then making sure you have like a thumb of fat, a fistful of veggies, and a cupped handful of carbs. So let's say like a breakfast, if you wanted oatmeal, because that's a carb source, I would say, okay, what's your protein? Maybe you can have egg whites in your oatmeal. That's actually really good. Don't knock it until you try it, you guys. Or, you can put a scoop of protein powder in there, have some berries, put a little bit of nut butter. You have like a really nutrient dense meal and you're going to be full until lunchtime. So I think really knowing how to build a healthy plate is key. That's going to help alleviate your cravings. And then also allowing yourself a daily treat, like also within moderation, right? So that would be a serving, not like you can have a donut, you don't need 5. So it's like, there's nothing after that second donut that you didn't get in the first. That's just the same thing with wine. There's nothing in that second glass of wine you didn't get in the first. So just always remember that you can have more tomorrow. I think a lot of people that it's like, oh my God, I'm never going to have this again. That's that good food, bad food thing. So tell yourself, I can have another one tomorrow. And then the next day you can have another one the next day. So it's really building a balanced plate and incorporating those foods you love and not restricting those.
Mhm. And then how about for people who are listening and they're like, I need to take a break or cut out alcohol? What advice do you have for those that are just starting out?
I go with like challenges, I usually start with like a 30-day challenge. It's like, okay, if you can, go 30 days, see how you feel, reflect on those 30 days. And if they're like, I can't do 30 days, it's like, okay, well, maybe start with 10. Just start with 10, do something. And then hopefully, just like when I say, with walking, try 10 minutes a day. Most likely you're going to go more than 10 minutes. It's just getting out there and doing and starting it. But, and also if they can't and they question even doing that, it's like, okay, well, maybe you need to actually get some help. It's okay to ask for help. We can't do everything sometimes. So I think it's important for people to realize that that is in fact okay to ask for help.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think having those manageable chunks, I do
Mhm.
have a free 10-day email challenge.
Hear you?
Yep, on my website on alcoholtippingpoint.com. And then I do 30-day challenge groups too.
Mhm.
Just because for someone, changing their relationship with alcohol can be really hard,
Yeah.
and forever sounds so daunting, and so
Right.
just having these manageable goals and chunks and looking at them as an experiment and then seeing like, "Okay, how do I feel without alcohol? Do I wanna continue? What do I want this to look like in my life? How do I
Mhm.
want to manage this relationship?"
Yeah. And almost like take like alcohol as like with food, right? So it's like I can always drink tomorrow, right? Or like I can always have that second donut tomorrow. And just keep telling yourself because like it's not like you're going to stop eating donuts forever. But although alcohol is a little bit different, for some of us like myself, I can tell myself I can drink tomorrow but I'm not going to. I know what that's going to lead me to. But if I have to tell myself that just to change the thoughts in my brain, that's what I do.
Yeah, I think that's a good tip where when you're having a craving, just be like, "Okay, what I'm feeling now is a craving. If I choose
Mhm.
to drink tomorrow, I can drink tomorrow." And sometimes that's enough to do a little, like, switch in your brain.
Yeah.
And so you do the same thing with food.
Yeah, if I want, so let's say, like, this is what I would tell my clients if they're like, "I can't stop at just one cookie." It's like, "But you can." You're just telling you first off, it's like we gotta change the words, how we speak, right? Because our action or our thoughts dictate our actions. So you're a person working on moderation with that cookie. So you have that cookie and then just tell yourself, I can have more tomorrow because you can have more tomorrow. It's not going to be not there for you. Just like if you have like a box of pizza, have a slice of pizza or two and you can have the rest tomorrow for leftovers. And so the more you do that, and that's, what I do all the time now. That's how eating my food. It's like, okay, I'm full right now. I don't really need more. I'm going to take this to go or put it away. And it works and I can have more tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, so simple.
Yeah.
But practice, takes
And
practice,
that's
like
the thing. It
anything.
it does take practice. It's not an immediate like success, but
Yeah,
it works if you work it, right?
exactly.
I find myself saying a lot of the AA sayings within my coaching, which is so interesting because it really does like coincide, I feel like a lot of the times.
Well, tell me some of them that are useful.
I'm trying to think now. Oh, let's see. What is something I use? Oh my goodness. Now I'm on the like I can't think now.
Well, it works if you work it.
It works if you work it one day at a time. What's another one I've used? One is not enough, is 10 is too many. I think that's an AA like saying, isn't that? I think I said that the other day. Why can't I see? I'm
There's
on the
like
spot. I can't think of any.
take what you
Take
want.
what you want and leave the rest. Yes, I do just say that with my videos too. It's like, okay, I've said that with like if I'm making a recipe and someone's like, well, I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't like that. It's like, well, take what you want and leave the rest. You can always, exchange anything you want in this meal. Like nothing is, people don't like to experiment. But yes, that is one I use. I'm trying to think of others. If I do throughout the conversation, I'll let you. But
Okay.
I'm having a mind fart right now.
I have them all the time. It's the Diet Coke. We'll blame it
Oh
on the
my
Diet
gosh.
Coke, the
Yes,
evil Diet Coke.
I blame it on being 49 and, like, having brain farts all the time now.
Well, I I'm with you. I'm totally with you. What are some other thoughts? Like what else is on your mind like for someone who's listening to this? Cuz this is a podcast for people changing their relationship with alcohol.
I think that, like, nothing people think that, all is lost without alcohol, right? Like, I'm not going to be I used to think of alcohol as, like, my best friend. Like, isn't that, like it's sad to me now, but I
Mhm.
was like, "Oh my god, what am I gonna do? I'm not gonna be fun anymore." I'm gonna be so bored. It's like, actually, life is just beginning without alcohol. Even though, like, I get the first year is really hard because socially, and this is what I want to change is like, why are we so concerned about people not drinking when we should be actually more concerned about people drinking? Like, I want to change the narrative of, it should be more acceptable to be the non-drinker than to be acceptable to be the drinker. I think that we should be questioning why we're drinking rather than why aren't we is really where we should be going and asking yourself like what is this doing for me that's positive, is it are there anything positive that you're getting out of drinking? 99.99% of the time you probably not. Like you're getting drunk, you're feeling like shit in the morning. To me, like now when I look back, there was nothing positive that drinking ever gave me besides a hangover, fights with my husband, almost getting in car accident, gaining a bunch of weight, just nothing. Like my health was in the shitter, my gut was, I was like, my stomach was horrible. There's just really nothing positive about it. And if I was to ask someone, give me 10 things 10 positive things that alcohol does for you. I bet they probably couldn't name one besides maybe alleviating social anxiety for like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
But
it's most of the things alcohol that we think alcohol does for us, like relaxes you, makes you more talkative, is short term and it can
mhm,
be replaced by something healthier.
exactly. Yeah. That's another thing. It's like if you have any sort of mental health things going on, anxiety, depression, you should not be drinking. And no, drinking does not make your anxiety better. It doesn't make your depression better. I used to think that. And in fact, it just made it 10 million times worse because I'd have to drink again the next day because I was like you said, it alleviates it for that moment. And then the next day you're like on heightened anxiety. And then you'd have to drink again to get rid of that. And then drink again the next day to get rid of it. So it's like a consistent cycle of, that whole process of anxious, drink.
Yeah, yeah. So you have been alcohol free for how long?
It will be 7 years in August
Oh,
21st.
congratulations. And
Thank you.
how has your life changed since giving up drinking?
Oh my goodness. Well, I created a business, which is huge for me because I was always the person that would start something and stop it because of my drinking, and do just facing things head on, not and completing a project, not our my relationship with my husband is a million times better, and things that I used to be like, oh my son is so, I'm this and that, I have to do this. Now it's like you just do things and you just don't really think about it. Before I felt like I was blaming all my problems on everything, right? Besides what I was doing. Like, life sucks. But no, it's just because I was drinking. Everything sucked because I was drinking. That's what it was. It's like if you have lots of stress and work and relationship and you're drinking and it's not making it any better.
Agreed. Agreed. Well, what are your plans for the future?
My plans for the future is just, still like helping as many people I can, heal their relationship with food, become the strongest person they can, and really change how society views alcohol and people that drink alcohol. That I feel like that I'm pulled even more to do that
Mm,
right now because it
yeah,
seems to be coming up, and us women need to be strong right now. And we're not getting any stronger by ruining our health. Like it's time to take charge of our health. And alcohol to me is not included in being a healthy woman, strong woman.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, how can someone find you?
You guys can find me. I'm on TikTok at Beth Feraco Fitness, Instagram, Beth Feraco Fitness, BethFeracoFitness.com for coaching. I have a Patreon called Cut the Crap with my business partner, Matt. And we also have a podcast called Cut the Crap with Beth and Matt, where we talk about all kinds of stuff
Such
on
a good
Spotify, iTunes, and things like
Yeah,
that.
such a good name. So what is a Patreon? I'm gonna just admit, like, I'm not fully versed on
So
Patreon.
we Patreon is, where people can come and support you for like pretty like really low, non-expensive way, right? If you want to support someone, then you can go to the Patreon and kind of like subscribe. And you get like there's certain tiers. So we have a $5 tier, and we believe like fitness should be for everybody, and not everyone can afford a coach. So Matt, I met on TikTok. We kind of get tagged in the same stuff. He's another online coach, and people are like, you guys have a lot of the same, views. So we decided to start a podcast together. And now the Patreon is a way where people can kind of work with us together, rather than our separate coaching services. So for the $5 tier, people can get monthly workouts and monthly challenges. So Matt writes the monthly workouts, I write the monthly challenges. There's no coaching involved whatsoever. It's just a place where the number one thing we get asked is like, "Oh, I don't even know where to start in the gym." So it's like, "Okay, here you go. Here's a plan for you." So they can take that, go to the gym and start. So if you can't afford, much, $5, that's, you get monthly challenges. This month is a step challenge, and we're giving away a kettlebell or a Fitbit. We're going to draw a
Oh,
winner from,
super.
yeah.
Super cool.
So people that have been consistent with the step challenge will get a prize. And so the $10 tier will get everything that the $5 tier had, except they have access to over 130 right now, like recipes, low calorie, high protein recipes that actually my clients have access to as well. We are in with this company called Now We're Cooking, who Hunter, the guy that's the COO, my business owns with Chef Richard. So Richard has lost 300 pounds. And so he's created recipes for like families and children, family friendly, I should say. So every week there's 3 new recipes added to this recipe portal, and they're all incorporated with my Fitness Pal. So they're easy to track and things like that. So that's what the $10 tier. So they're getting a huge deal right there.
That's
So that's
great.
yeah, it's awesome.
Okay, good. Well, I
Yeah,
will put links in my show notes so
thank
people can
you.
find you. And I just want to thank you again for coming on the show and sharing your story and just fighting the good fight.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Alcohol Tipping Point podcast. Please share and review the show so you can help other people too. I want you to know I'm always here for you, so please reach out and talk to me on Instagram at Alcohol Tipping Point and check out my website, alcoholtippingpoint.com, for free resources and help. No matter where you are on your drinking journey, I want to encourage you to just keep practicing, keep going. I promise you are not alone and you are worth it. Every day you practice not drinking is a day you can learn from. I hope you can use these tips we talked about for the rest of your week, and until then, talk to you next time.